Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Marketer's Mindset podcast. If you haven't already guessed, it's me again, Daniel, your host, and I have Brad Ball from Liquis, not Liquis, not Liquis, but Liquis Digital, coming out from Glendale, Arizona. Brad, thanks for joining.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
I'm super stoked you're here. We are like fellow TikTokers, and I
Yeah.
see your content all the time, and I was like, podcast, and I can't believe you said yes.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm glad you reached out. And I know I've met so many people on TikTok that I feel like I know, and I don't really know them.
Yeah. You're like,
Right?
what are you doing today? I'm gonna do a podcast with Daniel. And they're like, who's that? Like
Who is this
Daniel from
guy?
TikTok. And then you get on a call with me and you're like, I have no idea who you are. I'm like,
Right. Exactly.
how
I
funny.
know.
So let's get started. First question I have for you. What is it do you actually do and how do you generate revenue?
Yes. So we help businesses grow through creating online visibility and credibility online. So our core services are web design and digital marketing. So typically that's pretty much how we make our money. We've been doing it for 14 years, and we've we have marketing services that are retainer clients, and then we have our projects, web design projects. We do hosting, all that fun stuff. So yeah.
Wow. I was gonna ask, when did you start it? So 14
Oh yeah,
years.
14 years.
How did
Actually,
you how did you
yeah.
get into it?
So we started in '08, right? So right in the whatever the recession of '08. So we had nowhere to go but up. It's a family business, so it's all family. We do have other people that work for us that are not family, but the core is all family. It started with family.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I was actually in the healthcare industry as an application analyst, and I've always had the dream of owning my own business. And I was kind of in this like crossroads of where I was either going to take this promotion and go in like to this career, and that was what I was going to do, or I was going to jump ship, because if I took the promotion and went that way, I was not going to end up jumping ship and starting my own business. So back in '08, this is going to get a little crazy. My stepdaughter, who is older, was in a marketing agency who she wanted out and wanted to start her own thing. So together we came together and created Liquis Digital. And so I jumped ship from my job, and it's been a roller coaster ever since.
That is so funny. So,
Yeah.
okay, well, two things. First thing is,
Yes.
I came from healthcare too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did not enjoy it. I don't know if you did or not, but
Oh,
I came from healthcare, and the company, we won't speak their name because I don't want to get
right.
sued. The
Yeah.
healthcare company, perhaps, the little bird says, perhaps they might be in Southern California. I don't
Right.
know, maybe. Apparently, again, speculation, allegedly they spent $4 million over budget for a
Oof.
Disneyland all hands meeting,
Oh wow.
which was like barf in
Yeah.
your mouth, basically.
Yeah.
Uh, and then laid off for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And the business,
So
they
it's so
realized they were
funny.
over budget. You're like,
Yeah.
you
I
didn't.
just can't imagine being still back there, because the funny thing is that I probably still wouldn't have that job, right? I probably would have had it maybe 5 years before I got like laid off or the company
Yeah.
transitioned or something. I would always be worried about the my job, because I feel like the people that didn't get out were always just like, I don't know what's going to happen next year. They're moving our department over here, or this company's going to take us over. Like, you're always worried about your job. And that was like my growing up, that was my dad. Like, he was always worried about getting laid off. I grew up with that, and I was like, I'm not going to live that. Like, I'm going to at least have my future in my own hands, right? And that's why I've always wanted to start my own business, I think.
Yeah, you either perform or fail kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on me, you
Yeah,
know?
and it's so interesting that you came from healthcare, because I did too, and I just thought that was kind of funny. I
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
fell
yeah.
into it a little more when I was doing the agency. I sort of fell into that, but
Yeah.
interesting. So,
Yeah.
do you go after like a specific audience, or are you pretty much general?
We are pretty much general. However, we are, after 14 years, deciding to niche down into
Kind of reverse it.
right? So it's really hard to, I feel like for us, maybe just for me, but I've always had a hard time niching down. Um, and then doing it after 14 years. So we're really trying to niche down into the dental industry.
Hmm.
But it's hard because now we have clients that are in the dental industry, but we have so many other like avenues that come to us that, do we turn them away? It's a challenge. It's a challenge. I would say if you're looking to niche down, do it early. Earlier the better. I think it gets harder as time goes.
Why are you niching down?
Scalability, right? So one of the issues that we face or have faced is trying to scale what we do when it's so different from one client to the next.
Hmm.
So when we have, this e-commerce brand over here that has a completely different set of needs versus this dentist, has another completely set of needs. Like we're doing so many different things for different people that it gets challenging. So that's definitely why I think niching down makes a huge difference. You get to speak to one audience, and what you do is scalable then.
Yeah, because you just repeat. You just basically know
Yeah.
what needs.
Yeah.
I can see what you mean, because if you have to assess every single person's need in
Mm.
different industries or businesses, your sales process is probably extended by weeks,
Oh
because you really
yeah.
have to just
Yep.
keep talking to them and figuring things out and that sort of thing. So as you are niching down with plans to hopefully scale sooner,
Yeah.
how big is your team, and do you have plans
Yeah.
to add more team members?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, I would say about, I should probably know this number off the top of my head, but I would say we have about like 6 people, right? And so we have, probably like a core like 4 or 5. And then we have people that we work with, like we'll contract with certain individuals for certain things.
But
But yeah.
that's pretty lean though.
Oh yeah, really lean, really lean. We've always been really lean. We've always grown organically. We've never carried any debt. We've never had any investors or done anything like big moves. We've always just kind of grown like naturally and
Yeah.
organically. And
And
again, that's probably different than a lot of other people, right? But
well,
yeah.
I don't know how many agencies get funded. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I guess
Like
that's true, huh?
yeah, I don't know. But I
Yeah.
usually feel like the ones at least I've talked to usually is like I started this out of my
Yeah.
garage, and now I'm
Yeah.
now I'm just like doing this stuff,
You're
Like really
right. Yep.
interesting. Um,
Yeah.
how many clients do you have?
Oh, geez. I mean, over the years, like the funny thing is like with our web design, we have this kind of post-project support. So once we do a project, we're there for them for anything, kind of our billable hours, right? So we
Yeah.
still work with like our very first client will contact us and like, hey, I want to do this to the website. And
No way.
so it's hard to say like hundreds. We have hundreds of those, hundreds.
Wow.
Like active clients, probably around the 20 range where we're, actually like doing stuff on a weekly basis for them or in the middle of a project. So,
Sure.
yeah.
That's amazing that what
Yeah.
was your approach when you first started? Did you focus more on scaling, or did you focus more on like finding your rhythm so you could offer like a client a service and do it really well? Like did you
Yeah.
scale quick, or did you like take your
We did
time
not
and
scale quick. No, slow scale. We really focused on being the best at what we do and really also building that client relationship along the way, so I feel like too, like as you scale, one of the challenges is like still continuing to have that customer relationship. So
yeah. Yeah. Well,
there's that challenge.
I spoke to someone this week who sort of took the time all last year to figure out what it takes to scale, and he kind of completed it when I was speaking to him. And one of the things that he mentioned was, so people will add expectations on the service, which is like necessary because
Right.
that's a make it or break it type of thing. But he also adds, this was unique because I haven't really heard of this. He added expectations on his communication. So he said, and he said he was like, it
Yeah.
was like sleep training a child, basically. Like, I'm only available these days at this time. So
Okay.
it's the only time you can contact us, or we're
Yes.
available to have meetings scheduled. And so he eliminated the reaction of like, because we all know, like,
Yeah.
I have a problem, and it's like, he did
Yeah.
that, and then he just it made it taken a week or two for the clients to text outside of the hours or something. He has to go, no, it's not Tuesday, I'll handle it. And then eventually
Right.
he like turned it into that. And he only has 1 or 2 people, I think.
Right.
really
Yeah.
lean team as well. But he said that was helping him
That's
scale,
great.
so his
Yeah.
hours weren't all just, you know, random.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's really interesting. And
That
when you
is. Yeah.
when you were bringing up niching down to scale, that's something interesting too, because you usually think people just want, I need more clients to scale. But you can have
Right.
more thoughtful
Mm-hmm.
strategies like, well, maybe we just need to increase our profit margins.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's interesting that you're niching down to
To
scale
get
up.
bigger.
Makes
Right.
sense. Makes sense. So
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
your pricing model look like? You kind of hinted at that a little bit. Like you kind of do a project base, or you have like monthly retainers where people
Yeah.
service you. But what I'm intrigued about is you do a project and then people tend to come back. So what does your pricing model sort of look like for that?
Yeah, so I mean, basically our projects like really kind of go into like just web design, right? If we're going to create a website. So, we do the 50% up front, 50% at the end, with the signed contract.
Sure.
And then afterwards, our pricing is just like if they want to host with us and there's that monthly fee, if they want to have services, more services as far as I guess updates to the website or us to do stuff, then we just track our time and it's bill at the end of the month and we just let them know. And it's funny because you would think that people would be like, well, I don't know, how much is that going to cost? They're like, yeah, just do it. Once we do a couple of billable hours, they come to us and we're like, okay, yeah, it's going to be $200. Then they're like, okay, and then we'll do it, and then they'll come back the next time and not even ask like, hey, we need to update the pricing on our website. Okay, we do it
Oh,
and bill them
interesting.
at the end of the month.
Do you feel like it's easier for people to do that way of you charge hour and then you just bill at the end of the month versus like
Yeah.
trying to keep them on with retainers? Because I know that
So, okay, we tried that, right? And it can work. I think it can really work. But the retainer model for us became into this hourly thing, right? So every month we would say, okay, you get 2 hours a month of updates or things that you need. And, maybe we're discounting our hourly rate or whatever it is, right? Is our membership. We called it our I forget what we called it, but it was a membership. And then the problem is okay, we didn't use our hours this month, so we're going to roll them into the next month. Even though we had stated now your hours fall off, they would still want to like roll hours in, or they would judge like, I'm not really using the hours, so why am I paying it? Or this month I only used an hour, or how many hours do I have left? And we got into this place where just like time tracking like these hours, and it was not as valuable to them and such a pain in the butt on our end. So we're just like, this isn't really working. It was becoming more of like an hour game. So
yeah.
yeah,
So
just
how did you
when
how
you
did you
need us, use
combat that?
us, right?
How
And
did you combat that though? Because you're still doing the hours now, and it's just more of like for the service that you are offering hours on, just makes more sense.
yeah, it just makes more sense. So like for them too, let's say they were paying us and they weren't using us, then I mean you feel guilty, like just I'm just
Mhm.
taking your money, you're not even using it, and then so it's like, why not just use us when you need us when it comes to that? Because it just became too much to track and monitor like the value. They come to us anyway, you know what I mean? We're
Yeah.
still doing. So I don't know. For us, we were like, let's focus our efforts in other places when it comes to like retainers, and so we do actually have because we build our sites on WordPress, we do have like a WordPress maintenance plan. So if they don't host with us, then we can offer this maintenance plan where we go in and update their plugins and their software and do that and make sure it's backed up and
Sure.
secure.
But
And
you
if there
guys,
we
you
have
guys
like
have like a similar, you guys kind of have like a value ladder. You typically have like a
yeah.
simple service people come to you to, and then you
Yeah.
kind of have more packages to bring them up to
Yeah.
ladder.
It typically flows from like a website to hosting and maintenance in between, and then, just kind of supporting them with their website needs. And then it moves into phase two, which is usually marketing. So most of the time people will come to us and they're like, well, we want to do marketing. But then we look at their website and we're like, well, okay, we can drive a bunch of traffic to your crappy website and it's not going to work. So let's start with your website,
I feel like it's
so it
cyclical.
usually starts with the website, and then it goes into the marketing. But
Yeah. And that seems pretty natural. It sort of seems like
yeah,
the natural progression, because usually when they're like, well, we want to run an aggressive campaign, you look at the
yeah,
site and you're like, did
yeah,
you
this is
know? Were you aware of this?
This isn't gonna work so well.
I don't think so. What's the number one thing in your business that like moves your revenue needle the most? Not necessarily a service, but like the one thing that you could
Oh
pinpoint.
gosh. Um, Clarity, I would say, right? Like I think for me, like I'm the leader of the company, and for me, like I always suffer with chasing that shiny object. And
Oh, me too.
so being clear on what our mission is, and lately we have done a really good job of this and getting everybody on the same page and driven toward the same goal. And I think that is where we start to really move the needle, because now we're looking at, okay, what is our one thing, what are we trying to do, what is our goal, and then what are the actions that we need to take to achieve that. So I would say that's probably what moves the needle the most, and it really probably starts with me and being focused and staying focused on that.
That makes sense. Well, Brad, like to me, it's like because I've seen your videos on TikTok and stuff, and you're like a super likable character. You got like your good personality. You're not like
Right.
intimidating.
Well, thanks.
There's some
Thanks.
people that like they just feel like they're yelling at you, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
like you got to build your website and then you got to
Yeah.
market it, you know. Uh, so you have this like really approachable personality, and I feel like a lot sometimes agencies um, miss the point, which is you sort of
Hmm.
are not a salesperson. You're like diagnosing,
Right.
and you're
Yeah.
not trying to confuse people. You're trying to just because this is can be complicated if you
Right.
think about it.
Yeah.
So I feel like you probably approach it in a sense of you
Hmm.
diagnose, you prescribe, you kind of clearly show them what is needs to be done, how it's going to get done, and what it looks like working with you, and you
Right.
kind of ease them into this relationship.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. So it kind of touches on like what our core value is. And since the day we opened, it was really just kind of happened. We didn't sit down and say like, okay, what are our core values? It just kind of
Just
turned
develops.
out to be what we were, and it's to always be helping. So our whole thing, our whole philosophy is to help. So I love nothing better than to get on a sales call with someone, find out we're not the right fit, but to still be on that call and to help them, like tell them, okay, you're not ready for us, but here's what you should do. And here's the exact steps I would take, and actually be helping somebody, because that's when you're helping somebody, you're creating, a customer for life. So when they are ready, they're going to come back to you. So it's helping our clients achieve their goals, whether they're our clients or not, and then also helping the team grow each other and our strengths and weaknesses, and then helping in the community. So that's kind of like our philosophy, or our core values, is to always be helping. And I think that's really what comes through in like the TikToks, and it's really just being that
Yeah.
transparent person that, look, I'm authentic, and we may not be the right fit for you. You might need someone that's way more experienced or has the bigger budget, or you might need someone that has the less experience and less budget. Like, we may not be the right fit, and I'm cool with that, but I want to make sure that you got it covered, and we're going to help you as much as we can.
I know that translates well with people,
Yeah.
especially when you tell them you can't help them. Like, but if you recommend something, that's still value.
Oh,
They go, oh, I
absolutely.
really appreciate it. Or at least they leave the call thinking, well, at least I have an idea now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's fantastic that you do that. And I do think sometimes this I think this could be very prevalent is people think they're a salesperson. They're just good
Yeah.
at sales. They're not
Yeah.
good at like putting the right
Right. Yeah.
system or strategy in place per se.
I think when you stop looking at sales as like you're trying to sell someone, and just look at sales as like you're just trying to help someone. You're just
Yeah,
trying to,
because they'll like
they have a
naturally
problem. You're just trying to help them.
yeah,
That's
and they'll
it.
naturally get to the conclusion. I mean,
Yeah.
it's sort of like knowing sales is good because it helps you know how to guide
Right.
a conversation,
Hmm.
you know, but so you're guiding
Right.
it, you're control, you're doing the whole like Jordan Belfort
Yeah.
thing. Sure, great. But you are really using that as a tool to make sure you get the right information.
Yes.
That's really
Absolutely.
cool. That's
Yep.
cool.
Totally.
So what are like some marketing strategies you guys use to at least start a conversation? I know you're on TikTok and I'm curious to see how
Yeah.
that's working out for
I
you.
mean, so we kind of have our funnel, right? Like, and this is probably very similar to everyone else's, but we have like our platforms where we're like the cold audience, just kind of getting eyeballs. That's TikTok, that's Instagram Reels. That's, the podcast that's just out there on social. And then we have, the old lead magnet to, come into our email sequence and nurture them with the emails. We have that in place. So that's another one. It's funny. We don't actually run right now. We're not actually running any ads for ourselves, which is kind of funny.
So
We
all
usually
your leads are just organic.
all organic and mostly referrals, right? So, and I
Ooh.
think that's probably the case with almost every business. Even our customers that come to us, they're like, I get all my leads from referrals, which I mean, it's just those are the best leads anyway. So the other approach to the referrals is referral partners. I think that's a big missed opportunity for people is having partners that you're not viewing them as competition. I get more business from other agencies than I probably do anything else, just because of
Oh,
crossover
so
overflow.
you're making partners with agencies that don't do web development.
Yeah, even ones that do, because there's some development places that there if you don't have 10,000 plus or 20,000 plus, we're not going to talk to you. Or there's places where we only do this type of website, or we only work with e-commerce, or there's all kinds of agencies out there that only work with certain people. So we might. Or there's also web development companies that only do websites and they don't do marketing. And really, marketing for us is that recurring revenue that keeps the door open, right? So if we just
Yeah.
depended on projects, we're a roller coaster. We're like, oh, when's the next project coming in? You
Oh,
know,
cool. But
when
that
we,
must be like the leads you get must be so qualified.
yeah, right. So it's really, you're not really having to sell. You're just helping and directing. You're just seeing if they're a good fit for you and you're a good fit for them. Did I
That's
say that
really
right?
cool.
Yeah.
I think so. I sounded right to me. It
Yeah.
sounded correct.
So, yeah.
That's really
And
cool.
that's
You know what
referral
I found?
partners. Mhm.
See what I found with when I was because I used to have my own agency. I have a few clients just like
Right.
hanging out,
Yeah.
but I've sort of moved on to other things. But when I was doing that, I found value in that too. It's sort of hard to get the partnership for them to like initiate.
Right.
But
Yeah.
when you do, it worked well. You know what I
Yeah.
found success in, you might maybe thought about this or not. Um, capital companies.
Okay.
So like I made partners
Yeah.
with
That is a good idea.
like working capital companies for
Yeah.
business owners because
Yeah.
they would get funded and then they'd be like,
Yeah.
need marketing,
Yeah.
hit up Daniel.
Exactly.
I found
That's
that
a
really
great,
actually
yeah, that
yeah.
is definitely good. Actually, niching down into dental, we're actually looking at referral partners in like the financial area that
Ooh,
go and help dentists like grow their agency or grow their practice. And obviously they're going to be like, all right, well, now you need to do some marketing. So we
that's
would be like the
genius.
next step for them. So
Yeah, that's so cool. So
yeah.
how do you keep track of all your leads? Like, do you use a CRM? Because I know you have like your funnel and
Yeah.
your email and stuff. What's your primary like
Yeah.
organization tool?
Oh God, right. So this is the whole shiny object thing. there's
Oh, yeah.
there's a couple that I really have kind of incorporated together. So um we use Asana for everything pretty much. And I have the leads will automatically I have them come right into Asana into a project so I can like keep track of them. And then also it keeps it's easy for the whole team to be able to see the leads and where they're at. I can tag them. I can do all this cool stuff. But
Yeah.
then I also use HubSpot CRM
Mm, yeah.
because of the tools, right? Like it has like the ability to email right from it, like the tracking. You can see who's opened your email, who hasn't.
Super
There
cool.
is, it's pretty cool, and it's free. People get mad when I say it's free because I posted it's like it's free, and they're like, yeah, it's not free, and I'm like, well, I don't know. I've been using it for years and I haven't paid it time. So
Like
for me, it's free. I don't know. Maybe there's some features that I'm not using that I
you just
should
gotta
be
be like,
that
oh,
I
could you please explain that to me?
right? So anyway, the HubSpot CRM for the most part is free. And then we use for our marketing automation, we use Autopilot, which isn't
Autopilot.
as known as out there as some of the other ones. And
I've not heard of it.
yeah, they recently changed their name, and I can't remember what they changed it to, like or Toro or something like that. It's pretty
Mm,
legit. Like it's easy to use, very similar to Active Campaign and
yeah.
Keep and all the other guys, right? Like they're all
Mhm.
pretty much in line. But I like the way that they integrate into a website. Like you can easily track a form
Yeah.
without having to use like the CRM's form capture or something like that.
Wow.
So it's pretty legit.
I
And
have
their builder to create journeys is so visual and click and drag. It's pretty awesome.
Autopilot.
Autopilot.
I
Yep.
think I've heard of them. I think if
Yeah.
I saw them, I think I go, oh yeah, I've like grazed my eyes across the site before,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yep. It's or Toro now or something like that. I can't think of it.
It's funny you brought up Keep, and
I've never used Keep actually. I
so
just know of him.
I've only used it once years and years ago when it was Infusionsoft. But I have to tell
Oh,
you, I know it's like amazing. I know it's
yeah, I'm
expensive. I know it's
sure.
like,
Yeah.
oh my God, fine. But a lot of people I've met using Keep, they're like the nerds of marketing. They're
Right.
like,
Yeah, you're deep into
I'm
it.
Keep certified. I know all this
Yeah.
stuff. You got to use Keep. It's just sort of the trend I've been noticing. They're just really deep in it.
And I feel like if you're gonna go down that road, like you're almost just gonna be an agency. That's gonna be your agency model. If that's your, I think there's, and I can't remember what the businesses are, but I know there are agencies that are like we're Infusionsoft automation agencies. Like
Yes.
you're using Infusionsoft, and we know that it's so hard for you to use as a business owner that you're gonna have to hire an agency to come in and actually set it up and do it for you.
If you're
So
ever developing software, like it's some sort of SaaS thing,
yeah.
and you're like, "Ugh, I think it's too complicated, but we just built it. Just think of Keep, and just know that you basically need like a college degree to understand how to work that.
Right.
You know,
Oddly enough, I have not actually been in it, so I can't really say too much about it, but I have in Infusionsoft, and yeah.
well,
Yeah.
it's just so robust,
Yeah. Which
um,
is great. Yeah.
for sure. But it's just it's just not like a Mailchimp, which is done. It's
Right.
like you
Yeah.
can build such integrated
Yeah.
things. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Um, I have one more question before we jump
Okay.
into the last couple that I have for you.
Sure.
Um, what does your sales process look like, and how do those conversations start? So, like, I guess an example would be like, well, we pretty much generate leads, we get it in, and then we schedule an appointment, and usually that appointment looks like that. Did you use Zoom, or how do you conduct that?
Yeah. It's mostly a phone call, right? So this is really our flow. So the lead will come in, they'll fill out the form on our website, right? And if they don't schedule the call, so like after they fill out the form, they get redirected to a page like, hey, let's get on my calendar, schedule a call, Calendly.
Mhm.
And then if they don't, then they get like a follow-up email sequence to like do that. And a good amount actually from that follow-up email sequence, then do schedule,
Hmm.
which they could have just scheduled right from the beginning. But usually after they fill out the form and then get a follow-up email to schedule, then they're like, okay, yeah, I'm committed now. I filled out the
Right.
form. I might as well schedule a time. And then what I find with people that schedule are way more likely to show up. And then what happens in that schedule isn't a Zoom typically, it's just a phone call. Just a 15, 30-minute phone call where we're just going to talk about what you have going on. And 99% of the time, it turns into a bit of a sales. Like, okay, well, here's how we can help you, and here's our budget, here's our time frame. If we send over a proposal with all of that in there, does it make sense for us to move forward? And if they say
Great.
yes, then we're putting a proposal together, and they have it, within that day or the next day. And then we do all of our proposals. I basically built out a proposal like website where it like I put in all their information and it creates a proposal on a web page. So it has like all this different stuff on
Oh,
it.
that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty
So it's
cool.
like interactive.
Yeah, yep, it's a web page. So they go to it and they can see like, a little bit about the team. They can see like video testimonials. They can see like, oh, hey, we do hosting. So here's a little glimpse into that and what it looks like.
Yeah.
Here's our process, and here's the actual contract, and
Oh, that's
here's the
cool.
button to like fill out, and you agree to the contract terms by filling out this form. Then it redirects to a payment page where they can actually pay or select to pay by check. Yeah,
That is so cool.
it's pretty slick. Yeah, it's pretty slick. And
Yeah,
then they
it's
fill
like you
that
made
out
your
and
own.
boom.
It's like you made your own
Yeah. I did
automation.
it
That's
in
cool.
WordPress with Elementor. Yeah.
That's
And I
so
did,
awesome.
yeah, and it was super simple. I mean, really, like, and then advanced custom fields
Oh, sure. Yeah.
plugin, so I'm just like
Oh,
put
cool.
in their information, and it takes me like 5, 10 minutes And then, yeah.
Hey, SaaS solution available
Right.
for pre-order. All right. This is going to get a little fun. And this is the last sequence of questions, about
Okay.
maybe 3 or 4 of them. Okay.
Sure.
Think about the revenue that you've generated in the past 12 months. Okay.
Okay.
What's a realistic goal you see yourself hitting as operating now in the next 12 months? Like, do you suspect that whatever we're doing now, we could get a third higher, half,
Yeah.
double?
We're looking to double. Actually, our plan is to double by the end of the year. Yes.
Double by the end of the year.
The end of the year. Yeah. Our plan is to double by the end of the year. Our monthly recurring revenue.
And
right?
So
is that aggressive? That might be aggressive, but that's honestly what it is.
I mean, best of luck, man. But that's exciting.
Yeah,
actually.
Right.
So like,
so I figure, okay, let's say we don't hit it. Let's say we get like a quarter of the way there, then that's even crazy. So
amazing too.
Yeah.
So, but in order to get to that point, what do you think the number one thing is that you have to change?
Focusing on leads and sales. That's it. Like,
you mean just like getting more leads and then close?
Yep. Focusing on and just doing different stuff to get more leads, and being more proactive in the leads and sales. Like, we don't have a sales department. I am the sales department. We're small, right? So here's the problem with being small, and I think a problem with entrepreneurs or agency owners a lot of times, at least one of my biggest problems, was being in the weeds, right? So sometimes I wish I would have started an agency where I didn't know how to do the thing we did, because like, I'm great at developing websites and I'm great at marketing, but that means I'm always doing it and I'm always kind of in the weeds doing it. Like, if I didn't know how to do it, I'd be forced to find and delegate. But since and now I have this expectation of what I would do and how I would do it. I would be so much better if I just didn't even know. I don't even want to know how to do it. Like, and then I would just, that's great because you did it and I didn't. So delegation and getting that work off my plate, which I've gotten so much better at in the last handful of years. So that used to be our biggest crutch. Like, we couldn't grow because we would grow and I would get bogged down in work, leads and sales would stop. It was the roller coaster, and that's, I think, what a lot of agencies would face when they first start out.
That is very prevalent. It is. And it's also, it's like, I can understand though, because it is difficult. Get out of the site, because you can't pause the business and reevaluate.
Right.
So it's difficult to get out of that.
Yeah.
And then trust someone to do it, knowing that you have to still train them to do however you're doing it the best.
Yeah.
It is sort of like peeling a Band-Aid off. You're like,
yeah. I mean, and that's the hard part, right? Is this, and that's the other part about niching down too, is when you're doing one thing repeatedly versus a bunch of different things, then how do you train all of these different people to do all these different things, or one person to do all of these different things? And are they even capable of doing that? So like, scaling down really does help with that, because you're doing the same thing over and over. So you have this person that does this and this person that does this. So that's one, I think, benefit. But
makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I have one last question for you.
Okay. Yeah.
And this might be a tough one.
All right, bring it on.
No expectations. So the people that listen to this podcast are typically, I say the same thing on every podcast. I ask everyone the same question. It's this. Everyone who listens to this podcast is basically a lot of newer age entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Okay.
So they maybe they're thinking about, maybe they're working in healthcare. They're thinking about starting a business. Maybe they're taking a leap and it's a side hustle. They have a few clients.
Right.
It's a lot of that.
Yeah.
So what's your number one advice that you could give in order to save them years of wasted time? Now, when I say wasted time, it's not really wasted time, but like, what's something you could give as advice that could help them kind of get some clarity or focus into, not just dabbing their toes in a bunch of different things and make the most progress?
Right. So I really think you have to be clear on what it is you're going to provide. I'm probably not going to have one thing. I probably have like a handful of things. So I think one thing is like just being very clear on what it is you're going to do and provide, and make sure that you are competent or you have someone that's competent to really achieve results, right? I think the other thing is you're really going to have to commit. You're going to have to say if you're doing it on the side, like at some point you're going to say, am I going to take this risk? You're going to have to do it, and it's not going to be easy, and you're going to doubt yourself. You're going to do it, and you're going to maybe regret it at some point, and you're going to have some problems. It's going to happen, right? Like it's going to be a roller coaster. It's not going to be
Yes,
all like what
that is
people
for
want you to
sure.
think, right? Like it's gonna get ugly, and it's gonna get a roller coaster, and you're gonna learn a lot about yourself. So there's a few things that I would recommend. One is you have to be patient. I think with today's world, everything is so fast. Like you're so close. You could be so close from like your business taking off. Like you'd be maybe a week away, a month away, a day away. But if you stop today, you'll never know. And I think a lot of times people look at other agencies, they look at social media platforms or other people's numbers, and they think and have this expectation, and that kills them, right? Like you're
Yeah.
looking at, and it happens all. I do it. I find myself even yesterday, I was doing the same thing, and I was like, I got to stop looking at others and having this expectation, and just be patient and know where I want to go. But
Also, most of the time, it's not true.
right, right, almost always
Don't
it's not
you
true.
don't know you really don't know what
Right,
you're looking at.
right.
You
And
just
if it
know
is
it's
true, you don't know how they got there. You don't know the road that got them there. Like they have gone through the trenches. They've put years in. Like our podcast, it's young, it's new. If I looked at a podcast that had 200 plus episodes, like how can I compare to that? Like I'm 60. I think we're coming up on 70. Like that's a huge difference,
of course.
right? Yeah. So
It's almost like
you're
it's almost like if you stop and 3 years go by, that's
right.
3 years of
Yeah.
progress that you
Right.
don't have.
Exactly. Or if you're starting a YouTube channel, I mean,
Okay.
it's gonna take a while, and it's gonna take a while, and then all of a sudden that one video is gonna change, and it's gonna take off, and then it's gonna explode, and whatever, right? Like you just never know. You have to be patient. I think the other big piece of advice is, and one thing that I had to learn, and it actually kind of rolls into two, is like one, getting a business coach, getting a coach. And I recommend starting with a mindset coach, because usually what's going to hold you back in your company is you, and because you are in your own way.
So true.
So you are the problem, almost always. So it's either a relationship with money, or it's the inability to delegate and let things go, or the fear of growth, or the fear of like being an imposter, or whatever it is. It's all of these things that are going to hold you back, that's going to hold the company back, and it's going to limit your growth, or it's going to be something. So getting out of your own way, but hiring a coach to do that, I think is really the key.
That is some good advice. Be patient because nothing worth the reward is quick,
No.
usually.
Right? And if it was like, then what? Like so let's say you did get it quickly, and then what's going to happen next? What you're going to do is you're going to look at the next hurdle. You're going to look at the next thing. You're like, oh no, now we need to get to this place, and then you're going to
Yeah.
get there, and then it's never going to end. It'll never end. So, which actually is like, you gotta chase the process and not the goal. Look back and really appreciate the strides that you've made, because really it doesn't, what everybody else is doing doesn't matter. It's all about what you're doing. And
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
if you are willing to spend $50,000 a semester at certain Southern
Yeah.
California colleges,
Yeah.
then
Right.
why not spend a couple grand to
Yeah.
get a
Yeah.
coach that has done this before, that can just help you
Exactly.
get past the weeds?
Mhm.
That is
Yes.
some good advice. Well, listen, wrong person. Brad Ball, Liquis Digital. I almost said someone else.
That would've
Brad
been awesome.
Ball, Liquis Digital. Dude, Brad, thank you so
Yeah.
much. That was
Thank
amazing
you.
advice. I think
Awesome.
everyone who's going to listen to this is going to find great value. Where can people find you?
Yeah, well, if you go to liquisdigital.com, you can find all of our stuff there. We're on TikTok, or I should say, I'm on TikTok. We have a podcast, a Liquis Digital Marketing podcast, where we talk about it's geared toward small businesses, but we talk about, SEO, we talk about marketing tactics, we talk about website tactics. We do talk about business growth and business development, and we do talk about some of this like being patient and all of these kind of other little things. And
Love it.
yeah, so it's all around for business owners and entrepreneurs.
Cool. I'll put all that in the description.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
you just click on it and go to his podcast and check it out and go to his website, liquisdigital.com.
Yes.
Cool. Brad, thank you.
Thank you. That was fun.
That was fun.